Imani adjusted the strap of her simple black dress in the mirror of their cramped apartment, smoothing a stray curl behind her ear. Outside, traffic hummed on the avenue below, but inside, her heart thundered. She'd been dating Leaf for 2 years. He, the polished tech executive with a dimpled smile. She, the broke playwright living on takeout and hope. To the world, they were the golden couple, snapshots of happiness shared on Instagram. Her arm looped through his. But tonight felt different. "I can't believe you talked me into this," she murmured, tracing the edge of a phone notification. The invite, rooftop networking gala, hosted by Horizon Ventures. "Stay quiet about your plays," Leaf had warned. "People here don't care about starving artists." Leaf emerged from the bedroom in a tailored navy suit, tie knotted perfectly. He caught her gaze. "You look great," he said, offering a reassuring smile that failed to reach his eyes. "Come on. It'll be fun." On the elevator, they rode past polished professionals, sipping champagne. Imani gripped the strap of her bag, rehearsing in her head how to answer when someone asked about her work. "I write plays," she'd say, only to be cut off by polite "how lovely" before code talk resumed. She'd practiced smiling kindly, lowering her eyes, shrinking herself. They stepped onto the rooftop terrace, glass walls revealing a glittering cityscape. A live jazz trio played softly. Conversations floated. IPOs, seed rounds, exit strategies. Leaf guided her toward a circle of well-dressed colleagues. Imani's pulse spiked. "Everyone, this is Imani," Leaf announced, hand at the small of her back. She's my girlfriend." A polite ripple of applause. Imani raised her chin. When the senior partner raised an eyebrow and asked, "And what line of work are you in, Imani?" she opened her mouth. "I'm a playwright. I'm working on a new drama about ambition and betrayal." Leaf's laugh cut her off. He stepped forward, clasping her shoulder. "She's more of a starving artist than a real one," he joked loudly. "I mean, she's charming, but let's be honest, her works are just passion projects." "Right, babe." Laughter bubbled around them. Imani felt heat rush to her cheeks. The partner's grin faded to polite sympathy. She forced a smile, but her mouth tasted like bile. That night, she replayed the moment on the subway home. Leaf's patronizing laugh, the circle of businessmen's amusement, her own shame. He walked her to the door, still muttering about how she should have kept quiet. Inside, she collapsed on the couch, phone buzzing with incoming messages, texts from friends who'd seen the clip Leaf didn't know someone had recorded. Some messages were consoling, others gentle teasing. "Did he really say that? Your plays are better than his startup." One read, "Sending you coffee." Imani stared at the screen, chest tightening. She pressed her finger to the clip notification, hesitated, and then tapped play. There he was, Leaf, center frame, mocking her dreams. She watched his every smirk, every dismissive shrug. The caption, "Man destroys his girlfriend's dream in 10 seconds." She clenched her jaw. Tonight, she realized, wasn't the end of her story. It was just the opening act. The next morning, Imani woke to persistent sunlight piercing her curtains. Her head ached, a dull throb that matched the ache in her chest. She rolled onto her side and checked her phone. Hundreds of notifications. Someone had posted the clip to Twitter, then TikTok. It had already surpassed 1 million views. Comments poured in, some cruel, others sympathetic. A hashtag trended. Hashtag I support Imani. Her roommate, Zara, knocked and poked her head in. "You alive?" she asked, holding 2 cups of coffee. "You're trending." Imani took one. "I've never been more alive." They sat on the windowsill overlooking the street. Zara scrolled aloud. "Poor girl. He's a jerk. Her next play will be fire." She met Imani's eyes. "You need to decide what to do." Imani sighed. "I can't face him. I can't face anyone." But every time she closed her eyes, she heard Leaf's mocking tone. That afternoon, her phone pinged with a new DM from an unfamiliar blue check account. "Dalyarain heavy checkmark, Imani. I saw the clip. You've got a gift. Want to prove him wrong." Imani's fingers hovered. She whispered, "Who is this?" and tapped reply. "Who are you?" Seconds later, "Someone who believes in theater. Let's talk." Her hands trembled. She paced the apartment, coffee growing cold. The idea of trust made her chest tighten, but the prospect of revenge, of rising above humiliation, stirred something fierce inside. By evening, she'd agreed to a video call. The screen shimmered, then revealed a woman in a sleek home office, walls lined with framed playbills and Tony Award statuettes. Short platinum hair crowned her head. Her gaze was sharp yet warm. "Imani Okoye?" the woman asked. "I'm Dahlia Rain, Broadway producer. I've been watching this space for years, looking for a new voice." Imani swallowed. "Why me?" "Because you speak truths. Your voice is honest. And because sometimes the best art comes from reckoning with humiliation." Imani's breath caught. "You want me to write for you?" Dahlia leaned forward. "I want to give you a ghostwriting contract for a new play I'm producing off-Broadway. No strings, just do your work. Show the world what you can do." She tapped a pen. "In 6 months, premiere. Title, Cracked Glass." Tears blurred Imani's vision. "I don't know if I'm ready." Dahlia smiled. "Ready or not, your moment is now. Let Leaf's words fuel you." Imani logged off, heart racing. The world had laughed at her. Now, someone powerful offered her a stage. She looked around her small living room, stacked with rejection letters and half-finished scripts. For the first time in years, she felt possibility. That night, while the city lights flickered below, Imani opened a blank document titled Cracked Glass. Her fingers hovered over the keys. She typed one word, scene 1, and paused, breathing deeply. This was the beginning of something new, a chance not only to prove Leaf wrong, but to prove to herself that she belonged on any stage. Leaf's phone buzzed as he walked into his sleek midtown office. He glanced at the screen. "Imani Okoye wants to connect." He scrolled through her latest posts, nothing of interest. Dismissing it, he tapped an apology text. "Look, I'm sorry about last night. Come to dinner?" Then returned to his desk, launching into code reviews. Meanwhile, at a rehearsal studio downtown, Imani faced a half-assembled set. Cracked mirrors suspended on chains, shards of broken glass glittering under harsh lights. Dahlia hovered nearby. "Your vision," Dahlia said, arms crossed. "This opening scene, powerful. The mirrors represent fractured dreams." Imani nodded. "I want the audience to feel that sting when someone you love shatters your future." A director called places, and actors took position. Imani watched as the lead, an intense young actor named Marcus, delivered a monologue. "I believed in you. I pushed you. But you couldn't deliver, just like that silly little play you call art." Marcus paused, eyes downcast, then looked up at the empty spotlight as if addressing Leaf. Imani felt a tremor of triumph. Later, Dahlia pulled her aside. "You know that monologue. It's verbatim from the clip." Imani laughed, bitter pride flaring. "Let him hear his own words back." Dahlia handed her rehearsal notes. "Opening night 3 months. We'll keep it anonymous until then." That afternoon, Leaf stumbled upon an article. "Mysterious play Cracked Glass breaks box office records before opening night." He frowned, tapping the link. Reviews spoke of raw emotion, the author unknown. "Who is Imani Okoye?" he searched. Simultaneously, Imani settled into her apartment, script open, writing feverishly. Dialogue spilled onto the page. Arguments, gaslighting, moments of silence louder than words. She poured every ounce of her humiliation, every stinging critique Leaf had ever thrown her way, into the narrative. Her roommate peeked in. "You're on fire." Imani barely acknowledged her, lost in creation. She glanced at her phone. Leaf's apology unread, overshadowed by messages from industry insiders praising Cracked Glass. Dahlia's words echoed. "Let him own your past. You own your future." 2 weeks later, they held a closed reading for critics. The theater was small, 50 seats, but packed. Imani sat in the back row, heart drumming. When the final line ended, a hush fell, then applause swelled, critics whispering, wiping tears. Outside, cameras flashed. Journalists whispered. "Who is the playwright? Why anonymous?" A reporter called. "Ms. Okoye? Over here." Imani slipped past, breathless. She had faced an audience, unraveled her pain, and emerged victorious. Backstage, Dahlia embraced her. Your moment is coming. Imani exhaled, the sting of last night's memory fading. She realized this was more than revenge. It was her destiny. It started as an inside joke. At a friend's gathering, someone played the old rooftop clip of Leaf mocking Imani. Laughter erupted, this time at his expense. One guest live-streamed a reaction, captioning it. Remember this? Well, she rewrote the ending. The video spread, pairing Leaf's mockery with a montage of standing ovations for cracked glass. Soon, the hashtag footnote spread across social platforms. Leaf awoke to brutal notifications. His apology video was ridiculed. Memes plastered across feeds. Friends texted, "Dude, you're trending again." His stomach churned. He scrolled through comments. She killed it. Legend status. He's a joke. He tapped his forehead. How had Imani weaponized his words so flawlessly? Across the country, theatergoers shared the transformation. The girl he'd humiliated now lifting audiences to their feet. Evening news segments replayed the clip, then cut to Imani's triumphant bow. Leaf's face, once admired, flickered in shame. At the studio, Imani watched as the clip of clips crashed social channels. She clenched her fist. No joy this time, only relief. The marriage of her pain and triumph had created something unstoppable. That afternoon, Dahlia summoned her to a media training session. Your identity goes public tomorrow, she announced. Good morning shows, late-night spots. You ready? Imani swallowed. I won't apologize. Dahlia smiled. Don't. Tell your truth. Next morning, Imani sat in a triangular conference room, cameras clicking. A host asked, Imani, why reveal yourself now? She leaned forward. Because stories deserve a narrator. I'm that narrator. She paused. I never wanted to be viral, but standing on stage, hearing applause, knowing I mattered, that was worth any humiliation. Later, on TikTok, her interview clip racked up millions of views. Comments flooded. She's a queen. Aspiring playwrights, stand up. Best clapback ever. Meanwhile, Leaf watched from his apartment, curtains drawn. He felt hollow. His phone buzzed, an offer to write for a blog. He stared at the screen, remembering how he'd once scoffed at her art. Now he realized his future had been footnote to hers. As dusk settled, Imani returned to the theater. The marquee read Cracked Glass by Imani Okoye. She inhaled the night air, golden lights reflecting on polished sidewalks. In that glow, she saw possibility, resilience, triumph. The viral clip had been the spark, but this moment was her fire. She tapped a text to Leaf. Thank you for the inspiration. Then deleted it. Tonight, she was more than a headline. She was legend. Imani's phone buzzed at midnight, a new message from Dahlia. Congratulations on the NYT profile. Looks like everyone knows your name. She sighed, grateful and exhausted. Moments later, another notification, an unfamiliar DM. She opened it. Marcus says heavy checkmark. I played your lead at the reading. That was life-changing. Thank you. Imani smiled. Marcus had embodied her pain on stage. His words felt like balm. But then the message continued. Listen, I know it wasn't just luck. I saw something in you, raw power. Have you considered adapting Cracked Glass for film? Imani paused. Film. She had only ever envisioned live theater. Before she could reply, another DM popped up. Industry Insider. Netflix is interested in docuseries. DM me if you want an intro. Her heart fluttered. Just weeks ago, her world had been scripts in dusty drawers. Now, two corners of the entertainment world reached out. She stared at the messages, disbelief and excitement warring. The next morning, she met Dahlia at a downtown cafe. Over lattes, she spilled everything. Marcus's suggestion, the Netflix message. Dahlia nodded. You're at a crossroads. You can remain the playwright who broke box office records or expand into screen. What feels truest? Imani traced condensation on her cup. I want my story to reach more people. Film can do that. Dahlia smiled. Then let's start writing a pilot. She slid a contract across the table. Netflix option. They'll want 10 episodes, documentary style. Your journey, behind the scenes, the power of words. Imani's chest tightened. That's a lot. Dahlia reached across, squeezing her hand. You've always been ready. You just needed the stage. That evening, back in her apartment, Imani cleared her desk. She opened a new document, Footnote Fellowship Pilot, Episode 1. She typed her name at the top. Beneath it, the words, "Be careful who you belittle." Her phone buzzed again. Leaf, can we talk? She stared, thumb hovering. She pictured their last moments, his mocking laugh, her tears. Then she thought of the stranger DMs, the new allies, the new beginnings. She typed, "No," hit send. Then tapped out a reply to Netflix. "I'm in." As she pressed send, a breeze drifted through the open window. The city lights twinkled below, each one a story waiting to be told. Imani closed her eyes, smiling. Tonight, she wasn't defined by one moment. She was defined by every door she would open next. Imani stared at the email twice before her vision caught up with her brain. "Congratulations. You've been awarded the Emerging Artist Grant from the Anderson Foundation." She sank onto her couch, disbelief and joy colliding so hard she laughed until tears streamed down her cheeks. This grant, $50,000, plus a year of mentorship, plus a slot in the Foundation's Spring Showcase, was more money than she'd ever seen at once, and validation she'd craved since her first rejected script. Later that evening, she met Dahlia Rain at a swanky lounge in Midtown, the kind of place where velvet booths and dim lighting whispered secrets of power. Dahlia's platinum hair glowed under low-hung chandeliers. Her tailored suit looked like it cost more than Imani's rent. "Congratulations," she said, raising a martini glass. "You earned this." Imani raised her own glass, sparkling water for now. "I can't believe it." Dahlia studied her. "Believe it. You poured your heart into cracked glass. Now the world is paying attention." She tapped her phone. "And I have news," Broadway called. Imani choked on her breath. "Broadway. They want to know if you'll bring cracked glass to the Great White Way. They've seen the off-Broadway buzz. They want in." Dahlia's eyes gleamed. "Imagine your name in lights." Her pulse thundered. She pictured the marquee. "Cracked Glass" by Imani Okoye, 5-foot-tall letters, the roar of an audience, her voice echoing through the rafters. "Ah, yes," she whispered. Dahlia smiled. "Pack your bags. Rehearsals start in 2 months. You'll work with the director I told you about, Harrison Lee. He's brilliant but demanding. Perfect for you." Imani nodded, mind spinning with schedules, budgets, costume fittings. She'd never navigated Broadway's machinery, but fear sparked excitement. She could do this. Back home, she stared at her cluttered desk, scripts, notes, rejection letters now obsolete. She cleared a space and began sketching ideas for expanded scenes. A stronger climax, deeper character arcs, a new opening orchestrated to draw in Broadway audiences. Under her pen, Cracked Glass grew into a full production. Meanwhile, news of her grant and the Broadway offer spread. Social media erupted with congratulations. Hashtag Imani on Broadway trended. Leaf saw a headline, "Former starving artist to headline Broadway debut." His heart sank. He remembered his cruel joke, his careless dismissal. Now, she was the darling of theater, and he was footnote. One morning, Imani arrived at the Anderson Foundation showcase, greeted by photographers and press. She delivered a short speech, her voice steady. "Art is the mirror we hold up to our souls. When it cracks, we see the beauty in our imperfections." Applause thundered. Cameras flashed. She felt the Foundation's director whisper, "You're going places." That night, as she lay in bed drafting scene notes, her phone buzzed. A DM from Broadway producer. "Looking forward to working with you. Call me tomorrow." Under it, another from Netflix Insider. "Exec loved your summit speech. Let's discuss Doka series." Imani closed her eyes, mind racing. She had Dahlia, the grant, Broadway, Netflix, and the wound Leaf had inflicted was now the engine of her ascent. She inhaled, filling her lungs with possibility. Before sleep claimed her, she tapped a text to Leaf. "Good luck with your week." She let it sit unsent. Tomorrow, she would call Dahlia, schedule meetings, sketch out her vision. And tomorrow, She would prove that the woman he thought fragile was unbreakable, ready to shatter ceilings instead of dreams. The moment the Broadway announcement broke, Leaf felt his world tilt off its axis. He stared at the glowing headline on his laptop. Imani Okoye's Broadway debut confirmed. His hand shook as he scrolled through congratulatory articles, interviews, and social media posts. "She's out of my league," he muttered, rage and regret burning together. He slammed the laptop shut. His apartment, once a symbol of success, with minimalist art and gleaming surfaces, suddenly felt empty. He paced, replaying their last conversation, her radiant hope in his presence, his dismissive laugh. He had wanted to protect her from rejection. Instead, he'd sparked a fire. His phone buzzed. A DM from brand manager. "Need to revisit your partnership. The toxicity is trending." He bit his lip. His brand deals were evaporating. Sponsors balked at the drama. He couldn't tweet his way out of this. In desperation, he recorded an apology video. Under harsh fluorescent lights, he stared into the camera. "Imani, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you. I was insecure. I love you." He posted it across platforms, hoping to salvage his image. Instead, the ratio exploded. Comments flooded. "Give her a standing ovation, not your pity. We don't want your apology. We want to see her name in lights." Memes mocked his tearful face. A parody video set his apology to circus music. Leaf sank to the floor, face buried in his hands. His phone blared notifications, canceled deals, negative press, DMs from former allies calling him pathetic. He felt the walls closing in, his career, his reputation, even his relationship, fracturing beyond repair. Meanwhile, Imani rehearsed a new scene over Zoom with Harrison Lee. Dahlia hovered, offering notes. "She wants authenticity," Harrison said. "Don't hold back." Imani imagined Leaf's apology, performed, hollow, and channeled that sting into her characters. Back in his apartment, Leaf watched the readings live stream. Imani's presence shone, confident, electrifying. Her monologue about betrayal cut deep. "When you belittle someone's dream, you mistake their silence for weakness. But I will speak, and you will listen." The chat scrolled by in thunderous applause. Tears stung Leaf's eyes. He didn't deserve an audience. He slammed the laptop closed, vowing to fix things. He drafted furious emails to Imani. "We need to talk. Let's go to therapy." But each draft felt inadequate. At midnight, he abandoned his phone and drove across the city to the theater district, parking blocks away. He walked past marquees gleaming with cracked glass posters, Imani's name in bold letters. His heart clenched at every step. He reached the stage door just as rehearsal ended. Actors filed out, buzzing about Imani's talent. His feet carried him forward. He tapped the stage door, once, twice, voice cracking. "Imani, I need to see you." A security guard intervened. "She's busy. No visitors." Leaf's shoulders slumped. He watched her silhouette through a glass panel, her profile poised, discussing notes with Dahlia. Her back was turned. She hadn't seen him. He felt the finality of the moment. The door between them was literal and metaphorical. He had humiliated her. She had risen. And now, he was locked out of her world. As he walked away, neon lights blurred around him. The city felt colder than ever. His apology video flashed in his mind, worthless, powerless. For the first time, he understood he'd created his own footnote. Imani pushed through the theater's backstage corridors, adrenaline humming in her veins. Tonight was the first preview of Cracked Glass on Broadway. The scent of fresh paint, sawdust, and hot lights filled the air, sensory fuel for her nerves. Dahlia intercepted her with a reassuring squeeze. "You ready?" Imani nodded, script clutched in one hand, breath steadying. "As ready as I'll ever be." The director, Harrison Lee, appeared, hair tousled, eyes intense. "Places," he called, voice echoing. Imani, center stage for opening monologue. She stepped onto the rehearsal platform alone. The house lights stayed up for previews, revealing a skeletal audience of investors, critics, and VIPs. Her pulse raced. She inhaled memory of Leaf's mocking voice, a gift that ignited her ascent. The stage manager marked the countdown. In the hushed seconds, Imani transformed, shedding self-doubt and donning the persona of Clara, her character, an aspiring playwright battered by betrayal. She spoke the opening lines. "I used to believe my dreams were fragile, until you shattered them." Her voice carried raw vulnerability, bouncing off the mirrored shards suspended overhead. The audience leaned forward. She continued, weaving pain and defiance into each syllable, until the final. "Now I pick up the pieces and write my own ending." Silence followed, then a swelling wave of applause. The lights dimmed, and she felt the electricity pulsing. Harrison gave a slight nod approval. Backstage, Dahlia embraced her. "You owned that stage." Imani exhaled, a grin breaking. "It didn't feel like me," she admitted. "It felt like Clara, like my anger had legs." Dahlia laughed. "Good. Let it." As the preview continued, Imani watched from stage left. She observed the actors' seamless transitions, the audience's reactions, murmured laughter, tears, applause. Each beat confirmed that her story transcended her own life. Later, in the empty theater, she lingered under the marquee glow. She traced her name on the poster, inhales of paint and promise. A stagehand approached. "That was incredible," he said softly. "You're going to break records." Imani thought of the Anderson Grant, the off-Broadway triumph, the viral clip, but this felt like the apex. A quiet pride filled her. Her phone buzzed, a congratulatory text from Netflix Insider. "We're moving forward with the Doka series. Can we meet tomorrow?" She smiled, adrenaline replaced by calm resolve. She tapped a quick reply. "Let's do it." That night, as she walked through Times Square, vibrancy of neon lights mirrored her inner glow. Every billboard seemed to echo her journey, from obscurity to spotlight. She paused beneath the towering screens, watching her own trailer play. Snippets of rehearsal, Dahlia's words, the audience's standing ovation. A new DM popped up from Leaf. "I saw today's preview online. I'm proud." Her fingers hovered over the notification. Pride, compassion, boundaries. She swiped left, silence. Imani continued walking, head held high. Tomorrow, she would embrace film. But tonight, she was exactly where she belonged, center stage of her own story, with the world as her audience. The lights were hot, the seats filling fast. Tonight was the first evening preview, Critics' Night. Imani sat in the wings, heart thrumming like a drumline. Dahlia appeared at her side, makeup bag in hand. "Ready for your reveal?" Imani met her gaze in the backstage mirror. Tonight, she would strip away anonymity. After the final scene, she would step on stage in person to take her bow. No more masks. Harrison Lee called places. The house lights dimmed. Imani became Clara once more, shattered reflections, snatched dreams. She delivered every line with hone precision, each moment rippling with truth. The audience responded in tandem, laughter, gasps, tears. As the play reached its climax, Clara's triumphant rebuke of her betrayer. The set's mirrors cracked, shards falling. Clara stood amid the wreckage, voice soaring. "You thought you could write my future, but I hold the pen now." The final blackout, and then thunderous applause. But the real electricity crackled when the stage lights rose to reveal Imani, in her own clothes, black trousers and crisp white shirt, standing center stage, heart pounding. For a heartbeat, the crowd resisted, disbelief lingered. Then uproar. A cascade of cheers, whistles, standing ovation. Critics scribbled notes. Audience members wept. Cameras flashed. Imani blinked, absorbing every second. Backstage, Dahlia hugged her fiercely. "You did it." Imani's voice trembled. "I did." She thought of Leaf, his mockery now immortalized in her success. Tonight, she showed him who she really was. Later, she slipped into the empty lobby, where a group of students waited. They asked for autographs, selfies. Their bright eyes mirrored her younger self, hungry for a chance. She signed playbills, offered encouragement. Keep writing. Keep dreaming. In her dressing room, she found a small gift bag with a note. From the cast. "You're one of us now." Inside was a pen etched with footnote. She smiled, tucking it into her pocket. Her phone buzzed. "Brand manager. We've secured a Blue Ribbon Theater Award nomination for you." Another from Netflix Insider. Execs want you for the Doka series premiere. Schedule call. Imani sank onto the vanity stool, exhaustion and exhilaration warring. She typed, "Yes. Let's talk." But even as opportunities multiplied, she felt a pang of loneliness. She texted Leaf, "Tonight was special," and added, "Thanks, I guess." No reply. She realized some bridges could never be rebuilt. She had revealed her face, her name, her truth. Now, she faced the world unlocked, and the only person she needed to prove anything to was herself. The morning after Critics' Night, Imani awoke to a cascade of notifications. Hashtag I Support Imani dominated every platform: Twitter, Instagram stories, TikTok challenges. Fans reenacted her monologue, quoting lines, tagging friends. One video compiled clips of audience members weeping, set to swelling music. It had 10 million views. Imani lay in bed, phone buzzing beside her. She scrolled through messages. "You changed my life. I finally believe in myself. You're my hero." Tears welled. She never anticipated the scale of impact. Dahlia called. "You broke the internet." "I think it broke me first," Imani whispered, voice thick, but in a good way. They met at a rooftop garden, her sanctuary above the city chaos. Garden lights blinked like stars. "Your community rallies," Dahlia said. "Now we leverage that for change." Imani sipped tea. "Change." Dahlia slid a proposal across the table. Hashtag I Support Imani Festival, a series of workshops for emerging playwrights from underrepresented backgrounds, culminating in staged readings at Anderson Hall. "You'll host," Dahlia explained, "and headline discussions on artistic empowerment." Imani's heart soared. She imagined a room filled with dreamers, like her, once silent, finding their voices. "Let's do it." Meanwhile, at Leaf's office, his colleagues whispered as he passed, "Still seeing her trending? Her rise is meteoric." He nodded numbly, buried in work. His startup's collapse was official, rumors of bankruptcy. He hadn't spoken to Imani since her reveal. One DM he drafted remained unsent. That afternoon, Imani addressed the press outside the theater marquee. Cameras flashed. "This festival is about mentorship and opportunity. I believe talent isn't limited by background, it's unleashed by support." Reporters nodded, scribbling notes. A local news segment broadcast her words, "Be the champion you needed." On social media, a young writer posted a photo of her ticket stub. "First theater experience. Thank you at Imani Okoye." Imani retweeted with a heartfelt reply, "Keep telling your story." Backstage, she found a package, a handmade journal labeled Footnote Fellowship. Inside, blank pages waiting for new dreams. She placed it on her desk, resolve swelling. That evening, she performed a short set of readings from her updated script at a charity gala. Between anecdotes about her humiliation and triumph, she invited attendees to pledge mentorship hours. Executives and guests raised cards, sealing commitments. The gala concluded with a standing ovation. Walking home through the glowing streets, Imani realized hashtag I Support Imani was more than a hashtag. It was a movement. She had transformed personal pain into collective power. Her phone chimed, Netflix Insider. Series greenlit. "Welcome aboard." She smiled, thumbs poised. She typed to Dahlia, "Let's change the world." And with that, she stepped forward into her next act. No masks, no apologies. Only the unstoppable momentum of a legend in the making. Imani sat alone in the green room, the echo of applause still ringing in her ears. The Tony nomination bulletin lay open on her phone, Best Play, 2025, and beside it a headline. Imani Okoye's Cracked Glass clinches 4 nominations. She closed her eyes, breathing deeply. 3 years ago, she was scrambling for rent money. Now the Broadway establishment hailed her work as a masterpiece. Moments later, Dahlia burst in, clutching 2 glasses of champagne. "Congratulations," she beamed, handing one to Imani. "You've arrived." Imani smiled, tears prickling. "I still can't believe it." Dahlia guided her to the balcony overlooking Times Square. Neon billboards flashed images of cracked glass, Imani's face, the shattered mirror motif, rave quotes from critics. "Look at that. Dahlia said. Your name in lights. Imani leaned against the railing. It feels surreal. Dahlia raised her glass. To the playwright who turned humiliation into art. They toasted as the city pulsed below. Imani took a tentative sip, the champagne's sweetness echoing her exhilaration. Backstage, the cast and crew buzzed. Marcus approached, grinning. I told you this would happen. He handed her a folded card. From the team. Inside, handwritten signatures and messages. We're proud of you. You changed our lives. Imani's chest swelled. She hugged each member in turn, the warmth of camaraderie filling her. That evening, she navigated press interviews. Reporters crowded her, flashbulbs strobing. How did it feel to hear your name announced? What's next for you? Any advice for emerging writers? She answered thoughtfully. Art comes from vulnerability. Don't let anyone diminish your dreams. Later, in her dressing room, she found an envelope marked Anderson Foundation. Inside was a plaque naming her Emerging Artist of the Year and a check for an additional $25,000 to support her next project. She traced the engraved letters, overwhelmed. Her phone buzzed. A DM from Footnote Fellowship. We want you as keynote speaker at our inaugural conference. Another from Netflix exec. Pilot scripts look great. Ready to shoot. Imani paused. The momentum was unstoppable. She drafted curt replies. Absolutely. But beneath the triumph lay a quiet question. What came after the win? She recalled her early nights, script discarded in frustration, then rediscovered by Dahlia. The memory steeled her resolve. Achievements weren't endpoints, they were platforms. She texted Leaf. I think you'd be proud. Then deleted it. Instead, she opened a fresh document titled Footnote Fellowship, Vision Statement. She wrote, a world where no voice is silenced by self-doubt or ridicule. As dawn approached, she sent the file to Dahlia. The city quieted, but in her heart, drums of purpose beat on. Tonight, she celebrated her first major win. Tomorrow, she would wield it to lift others and carve a legacy beyond any trophy. Leaf stared at the email notification blinking on his phone. Application received. It was from Imani's production studio, Imani Okoye Productions, addressed to junior writer position. He stared at the subject line for minutes, fingers trembling. Thank you for your interest. He hadn't expected to see her name in the sender field. He sat on the edge of his bed, the glow of city lights filtering through blinds. His life had unraveled. Failed startup, canceled deals, his public apology ridiculed. In desperation, he drafted a resume emphasizing his technical writing background. Anything to justify a foot in her world. His finger hovered over withdraw application. Nostalgia tugged. The days when they dreamed together, brainstorming scripts over takeout noodles. But pride and guilt froze his hand. The next morning, he marched to the studio's sleek office building, heart hammering. Security buzzed him in, and he took the elevator to the 13th floor. As he hit Studio A, regret seeped through every pore. What right did he have? He entered a minimalist lobby. Receptionist glanced up. Mr. Caldwell. He nodded, voice tight. I have an appointment. He swallowed. Interview for junior writer position. She handed him a cup of water. They'll see you now. He followed her to a glass-walled conference room. Inside waited two women, one with platinum hair, Dahlia Rain, the other a stern-faced editor, Mara Lynn. Leaf's throat tightened. Dahlia stood, offering a measured smile. Leaf Caldwell, thank you for applying. Her voice was neutral. Please sit. He sat, cleared his throat. Thank you for the opportunity. He placed his resume on the table. Mara scanned it, frowning at his technical writer header alongside self-published short stories, 2018. Leaf inhaled. I know my words hurt her, he began, voice low. But I also understand narrative. I want to help others tell their stories. Dahlia folded her hands. You're aware this position is highly competitive. Many applicants have strong theater backgrounds. He nodded, gaze steady. I'm prepared to learn. I'm willing to start at the bottom. Mara exchanged a glance with Dahlia. The tension bristled. Why here? Mara asked. Why now? Leaf's shoulders slumped. I believe in Imani's vision. I want to support it. His admission hung between them. Dahlia's eyes narrowed, not in anger, but calculation. We value sincerity. We'll be in touch. He stood, voice barely above a whisper. Thank you. The receptionist escorted him out. In the elevator, his reflection fractured, each panel a shard of his past arrogance. He exhaled, uncertain if he'd be welcomed or rejected. Later, Imani sat at her desk reviewing applicants. Her assistant paused. Leif Caldwell applied. Imani froze, finger hovering over his resume. Heart pounded. She recalled his mockery, his apology, and his humiliation. Compassion warred with caution. She closed her laptop, leaning back. She had the power to decide whether to let him in or keep the door closed. That night, Leif stared at his phone, waiting for her call. He didn't know which would hurt more, her acceptance or her silence. Imani stepped off the private jet at LAX, sunglasses shielding her from the midday glare. Her phone buzzed with messages, congratulations from Broadway stars, media inquiries, and a text from Dahlia. Welcome to Act 3. A sleek black SUV rolled up. The driver opened her door. Impressed by the polished calm, she slid inside, suitcase bumping. The vehicle merged into traffic toward a glinting glass building with the Hulu logo. Inside, she met Samuel Ortega, head of scripted content. He greeted her warmly. Imani, thanks for coming on short notice. They sat across a long table overlooking downtown. Plantations of palm trees stretched below, a stark contrast to New York's brick canyons. Samuel clicked his tablet. Your vision for a limited series is brilliant. 4 episodes exploring creative rebirth, fiction blending with documentary elements. We want you to write and executive produce. Imani's breath caught. She glanced at the blueprint images on the screen. Dramatic reenactments of her life, intercut with interviews and archival clips. It's ambitious, she admitted, but I believe it can resonate. Samuel nodded. That's why we're here. Talent with conviction. He added, budgets approved. We'll assemble a writer's room in 2 weeks. She exhaled, adrenaline quickening. Count me in. That afternoon, she toured the studio lot soundstages, editing bays, coffee carts buzzing with crew. She imagined her team hustling through these halls. Back in her temporary office, a minimalist space with floor-to-ceiling windows, she unpacked her laptop and a stack of notebooks. She sketched episode breakdowns, the viral clip, Broadway triumph, the offer, and Leif's footnote. Her phone buzzed. A message from Leif Caldwell. Are you okay? She paused, resisting reflexive compassion. She tapped back. Busy. Talk later. Moments later, Dahlia appeared on video call. How's the view? Imani smiled. Incredible. They want my story in living color. Dahlia leaned forward. Remember, authenticity over sentiment. Imani nodded. She opened her script document, fingers poised. The blank page transformed into her canvas. At sunset, she exited the building and strolled the lot courtyard. A group of aspiring writers clustered under string lights rehearsed lines. She paused, eavesdropping. Laughter, critique, raw energy. She smiled, remembering her first off-Broadway lab. A young woman approached timidly. Ms. Okoye. Imani knelt. Call me Imani. The woman's eyes lit. I'm so inspired. Thank you for paving the way. Imani tapped the group chat on her phone. Hulu team. Let's make something unforgettable. As dusk settled over the palms, she felt the full bloom of her journey, from broken reflections to vibrant creations. And she knew this was only the beginning. Imani was drafting episode 2 when her phone rang. The caller ID flashed Leif Caldwell. Her heart jolted. She stared at the screen, then ignored it. Minutes later, another call. She silenced the phone and returned to her notes. Dialogue bloomed, introspective moments, candid interviews, stage rehearsals. An hour later, her phone buzzed with a text. You forgot who helped you when no one else believed. She exhaled, remembering the rooftop joke, the DMs, the gratitude she felt for Dahlia, never for him. She typed, Goodbye, Leif. He called again. She let it divert to voicemail. Imani, please. I'm sorry. Can we meet? She deleted the message and closed her eyes, focusing on the pilot script's next lines. Her speech at the Women in Media Summit. She envisioned the podium, the room packed with listeners. Later that day, she joined a writer's room Zoom. Colleagues from L.A., New York, London pitched scenes, reenactments of her viral moment, voiceover framing, reflections on empowerment. She facilitated with calm authority. At midday, she took a break on the rooftop garden. Breeze rustled palm fronds. She watched interns hustling below. Her phone buzzed once more. Last chance, please. She stared at the text, then dropped the phone into her bag. She inhaled the fragrant air, tasting freedom. Inside, the writing resumed. She realized that Leaf's calls were echoes of her past, and her story demanded focus on the future. When the writers wrapped, she sent one final text to Dahlia. He called again. I didn't answer. Dahlia replied instantly. Correct choice. Imani smiled into the twilight. She had reclaimed her narrative. No interruptions, no regrets. Imani sat at her childhood desk, dust motes dancing in the afternoon sun. She traced memories. Her first draft, scrawled in pencil, pages folded, coffee stains scarring the margins. She remembered Leaf's first reading, gentle applause, hushed praise in her cramped apartment. Imani, he'd said, eyes warm. You're brilliant. Her heart had fluttered. Months later, in a cafe, she pitched her concept for cracked glass. His finger tapped the table impatiently. Theater's a hobby. You need a real job. She bristled, hurt staining her cheeks. She recalled the rooftop event, the first blow. His laughter like ice shards. Her humiliation broadcast. But she also remembered moments of tenderness. Hands clasped on gray mornings, whispered encouragement before auditions, nights typing side by side. Him on his laptop, her on hers. In her mind's eye, their final fight unfurled. Her tears, his exasperation. I just want you to be happy, he yelled. Write your stupid play if it makes you feel better. Her youthful optimism had crumbled then, his words flaying her confidence. But those shards fueled her narrative. They became Clara's pain, her anger, her rebirth. Imani closed her eyes and let the memories settle, not as wounds, but as foundation stones. Without them, cracked glass would have no heart. She opened a fresh page in her pilot script. Flashback, New York, 2019. She typed the scene. A young couple's hopes crashing against public scorn. The sting of careless words. Dialogue sprang. Leaf, softly. You deserve more security. Imani, quiet fury. I deserve belief. She let the exchange breathe, each line honest. As she wrote, she acknowledged the complexity. Love can hurt. Passion can wound. But art can heal. An hour later, she leaned back, reviewing the scene. It captured their story, her backstory, without resentment, only truth. She saved the file, title glowing at the top. Memories no longer shadows, but the spark of her creation. Imani rose, stretching. She gazed at the sunset outside her window, colors fracturing like light through prisms. She whispered, Thank you. Tonight, she honored the past. Tomorrow, she would shape it for audiences worldwide. Because every legend begins in the fragments of yesterday. Imani stood backstage as the final performance of Footnote prepared to begin its Broadway run. The air crackled with anticipation. Tonight's show would be filmed for the Netflix documentary, capturing every moment for audiences worldwide. Dahlia adjusted her earpiece. You ready? She whispered. Imani drew a steadying breath. Let's do it. As the curtain rose, the stage revealed a simple set. A writer's desk, scattered pages, and a solitary spotlight. The audience hushed. Clara, Imani's protagonist, entered, voice trembling as she addressed her betrayer, a faceless shadow. You taught me to doubt. You crafted my silence. The line resonated. Echoes of Leaf's rooftop mockery played softly in the background score. Midway through the second act, Clara reached the pivotal moment, the betrayal. Instead of a letter, she produced a shattered mirror shard, symbolizing her fragmented confidence. With deliberate steps, she approached center stage, then paused. The lights shifted to reveal a second figure emerging from darkness, him. Leaf. Gasps rippled through the audience. A hush fell. Leaf, dressed in a plain shirt and jeans, looked vulnerable under the stage lights. He approached Clara, shoulders hunched, voice unsteady. "I'm sorry." The script had called for a monologue from Clara's perspective, but tonight's twist allowed Leaf an unscripted moment, his real apology alive. Imani held her breath, heart pounding. The boundary between fiction and reality blurred. Leaf's words echoed. "I was blind. I thought silence meant consent. You taught me it meant strength." Tears glistened in his eyes. The audience sat frozen, empathizing with both the betrayer and the betrayed. Clara Imani softened. She reached out, placing her hand on his. Then, slowly, she turned away, finger poised to write the final line. A pen snapped in her grip. She looked out at the audience, voice steady. "I forgive you, but I will not forget." Silence stretched. Then thunderous applause erupted. Critics and fans leapt to their feet. Camera lenses clicked, capturing the raw emotion. In that moment, the play transcended art. It became a living testament to redemption and resilience. Backstage, Imani and Leaf shed their characters. He wrapped her in a trembling hug. "Thank you," he whispered. She nodded, tears spilling. "Thank you for the truth." Dahlia embraced them both. That was more powerful than any script. Later, in her dressing room, Imani watched the recorded scene on her phone. The twist, Leaf's unscripted entrance, would be the documentary's centerpiece. She felt a surge of pride. She had turned humiliation into healing, betrayal into catharsis. Her phone buzzed, Netflix Insider. "This scene is everything. Prepare for global release." Imani smiled, envisioning viewers moved by their shared vulnerability. As she stepped onto the quiet street, neon marquees dimmed, but she carried a new light within. She had written her twist, and in doing so, offered the world a moment of genuine transformation. The marquee blazed, footnote, "Broadway premiere tonight." A line snaked around the block. Fans clutched playbills, cameras flashed. Imani, clad in a tailored emerald dress, descended the theater steps with Dahlia at her side. "You look radiant," Dahlia said. Imani forced calm, but her stomach fluttered. "Here we go." Inside, the plush auditorium glowed under crystal chandeliers. Critics in tuxedos and gowns dotted the crowd, alongside influencers and celebrities. A hush fell as the house lights dimmed. The overture swelled through speakers. Clara's journey unfolded, her betrayal, her ascent, the climactic reunion with Leaf. Each scene built upon the last, weaving narrative strands into a tapestry of empowerment. The twist from the preview remained, a memory that now stung with emotional truth. When Clara placed the final title card on the stage floor, footnote fellowship, the audience rose, thunderous applause shaking the rafters. Imani appeared for her curtain call, head high, arms extended to embrace cast and crew. Leaf joined her, offering a bouquet of white lilies. She accepted, pressing a kiss to his cheek as cameras captured the moment. Backstage, congratulations cascaded. Marcus lifted her off her feet in a bear hug. "You nailed it," he laughed. Harrison Lee clapped her shoulder. "Broadway will remember this." She exhaled, joy and relief flooding her. Dahlia appeared, handing her the evening's newspaper. Broadway's newest triumph, footnote. The review read, "A masterful fusion of theater and life. Imani Okoye cements her legacy." Imani sank into a chair, absorbing it all. Amid the celebration, her phone buzzed, brand manager. "Blue Ribbon Award ceremony tomorrow." Netflix Insider. Doka series trailer premieres next week. She tapped replies. "Thank you. See you there." Then texted Leaf. "Tonight was perfect." He called immediately. "I'm so proud," he said, voice thick. "You deserve every spotlight." She smiled. "Thank you for being in my story." After the gala reception, she slipped outside, inhaling cool night air. Broadway's lights glittered like constellations. Fans lingered, tweeting praises. A group of students approached, hushed excitement in their eyes. One held a sign, "Future Playwright." They asked for autographs. She signed playbills, offered words of encouragement. "Keep chasing your story." Their smiles mirrored hers. Later, alone in her dressing room, She unpacked her bag. The lilies, the newspaper, the playbill. She arranged them on her desk beside the Footnote Fellowship Journal. This symbolized more than success. It embodied community, mentorship, legacy. She changed into a simple blouse and stepped out to join Leaf under the marquee. They stood hand in hand, the night humming around them. He pressed a kiss to her forehead. "You changed lives tonight." She leaned into him. "We did." Above them, the marquee glowed. Below, footsteps echoed on the sidewalk. In that moment, she realized this opening night was not an endpoint, but the dawn of endless possibilities, stories waiting to be told. The next morning's headlines blared. Standing ovation goes viral. Broadway fans rave over Footnote. Social feeds exploded with clips of the opening night, the applause, Imani's radiant bow. Hashtags trended. Hashtag Footnote Broadway. Hashtag Imani Okoye. Imani sipped her coffee in the theater's private lounge, reviewing fan videos on her tablet. She paused on one clip. The audience's spontaneous cheers at the twist, Leaf's heartfelt apology greeted with both tears and smiles. She replayed it, absorbing the moment. Dahlia slid in with complimentary pastries. The world loved it. Imani nodded. They did. His admission of fault, met with forgiveness. It was more than drama. It was art imitating life. That afternoon, she attended a live Q&A hosted by the Broadway League. The moderator asked, "What moment moved you most?" She replied thoughtfully, "When healing replaced hurt on stage, when we allowed empathy to guide our narrative." The audience erupted in applause. Meanwhile, Leaf returned to the stage door after the matinee. He lingered in the wings as Clara and her cast took a curtain call. He watched Imani laugh with her team, her face glowing in triumph. A staff member approached him. "You're welcome here," she whispered. He nodded, quietly proud, yet aware his role had shifted from lead to witness. Later, Imani greeted VIP guests in the lobby. Among them stood the critic who'd once dismissed her work at the off-Broadway reading. He approached, extending a hand. "Ms. Okoye, your evolution is remarkable. You've redefined what theater can be." She shook his hand. "Thank you. Theater transforms both artist and audience." That evening, she and Leaf dined at a quaint bistro, laughter weaving between them. Their conversation, once strained by pain, now flowed with mutual respect. He shared his plans to mentor interns at the Footnote Fellowship. She beamed. Back home, Imani drafted her speech for the upcoming fellowship launch. She wrote, "Tonight, we witnessed the power of forgiveness. Remember, every crowd erupts when you speak from the heart." She signed off, satisfied. As midnight approached, she posted a thank you video. Heartfelt gratitude to fans, cast, crew, and Dahlia. She ended with Clara's line, "Don't let anyone make you a footnote in your story." The video garnered millions of views within hours. Imani read the comments, stories of resilience, renewed dreams, healing hearts. She closed her eyes, humbled. In the quiet aftermath, she smiled, knowing that true impact rippled far beyond a packed theater. It lived in every viewer's soul. A week later, Imani arrived at Netflix's Los Angeles offices for the documentary premiere screening. The lobby buzzed with executives, press, and her production team. Banners bore her likeness, from silence to spotlight. Heart racing, she signed autographs before ascending to the private screening room. Inside, dozens of chairs faced a giant screen. She sank into the front row as the lights dimmed. The opening montage played. Her rooftop humiliation, off-Broadway success, viral clip, Broadway triumph, and the twist on stage. Her own voice narrated, "This is not just my story. It's ours." Tears pricked her eyes as scenes unfolded, rehearsals, personal interviews, Leaf's apology, audience reactions. The documentary wove honesty and artistry into a compelling arc. At the climax, footage of her thanking young writers at the Footnote Fellowship Gala filled the screen. Then the closing, her Time magazine cover, the Footnote Fellowship logo, and her voice. "Be the author of your destiny." Silence held the room, then applause thundered. Imani rose, joining Dahlia at the front. Executives stood, clapping. Samuel Ortega wrapped her in a hug. You did it again, he said. She swallowed, gratitude overwhelming pride. We did it, she corrected, acknowledging the countless collaborators. Afterward, she mingled with Doka series producers, fielding questions. What was the most challenging moment? How did you stay motivated? She answered candidly, emphasizing community and perseverance. A young documentary filmmaker approached. Your story changed how we think about failure. She smiled. Thank you. Backstage, Leaf joined her. He slipped an arm around her waist. I couldn't be prouder, he murmured. She leaned in. Thank you for believing, finally. That night, Netflix uploaded the documentary. Within hours, it soared to the top of the charts. Social media erupted with praise and personal testimonies of healing. Imani saw tweets quoting her lines, tagging friends. She sat at her desk, the Footnote Fellowship Journal open. She wrote a new entry. Today, our story inspired millions. Tomorrow, we expand our reach. With the documentary's success, her mission gained momentum. She closed her laptop, eyes shining. Every door she'd opened, from a mocking rooftop to a global streaming platform, led here. And she knew the next chapter of her journey had only just begun. Sunlight filtered through the windows of the Footnote Fellowship headquarters, a renovated warehouse with exposed brick and sprawling workspaces. Imani walked the halls, watching interns brainstorm pitch ideas, mentors offer feedback, and filmmakers edit footage. This was her legacy in motion. At the center of the main studio hung a massive banner. Don't let anyone make you a footnote. She paused beneath it, hands clasped, letting the significance settle. A group of fellowship recipients gathered, holding mock awards. They cheered as she entered. Marcus stepped forward. We have a surprise. He unveiled a glossy poster. Imani Okoye, Time 2025 Person of the Year. The crowd erupted. Imani's heart swelled. She accepted the poster, voice trembling. This is not just for me, but for everyone who dreamed in the shadows. Thank you. Later, she convened a panel discussion on creative resilience. Industry leaders spoke on mentorship, diversity, and the power of narrative. Imani moderated, weaving her journey through the dialogue. She concluded, our stories define us. When we own them, we shape the world. After the event, Dahlia appeared with an envelope. Inside was a key, the ceremonial key to the theater district, symbolizing her permanent place in Broadway's history. Imani pinned it to a display wall among fellowship memorabilia. Her phone buzzed. Netflix Insider. Season 2 confirmed. Broadway producer. Tour dates announced. She tapped quick replies. Thrilled. That evening, she hosted a celebration reception at the warehouse. Under string lights, laughter and music filled the air. She watched young artists share their first public performances, their faces alight with possibility. Leaf approached, handing her a glass of champagne. To your legacy. She clinked glasses. To our legacy. As she surveyed the vibrant scene, creative energy buzzing, futures unfolding, Imani felt complete. She had transformed a moment of public shame into a movement of empowerment. Tonight, she locked her legacy not in awards or headlines, but in each inspired mind and every story yet to be written. Beneath the banner's bold motto, she whispered, May no voice ever be a footnote again. And with that, she stepped forward into the next unwritten chapter, her story, and theirs, forever entwined. Leaf arrived early at Imani's production studio on his first official day. Assigned as a junior writer and assistant, he found himself sweeping floors and organizing scripts to prove his dedication. Each morning, he donned a simple uniform, carrying a bucket of cleaning supplies and a stack of discarded drafts he helped tidy. As he mopped the corridors, he observed dozens of notebooks strewn on conference tables, scenes being rewritten, moments of brilliance and revision intertwined. He remembered how easily he once believed his own opinion was enough. Now, each page he handled reminded him of Imani's relentless pursuit of perfection. When the writer's room opened, he quietly slipped inside, offering coffee and mindfulness, watching the vibrant exchange of ideas. He scribbled notes in the margins of his own pad, absorbing narrative techniques and character arcs. During lunch, he lingered at the back, listening to Imani's feedback session with her writers. Her voice was firm but encouraging, each correction delivered with kindness. He realized the power of leadership rooted in empathy. By afternoon, he returned to his janitorial responsibilities, but now with newfound respect for every role that supported creation. Weeks passed. One evening, Imani discovered a carefully curated pile of scripts he'd organized alphabetically, highlighting scene transitions in color-coded tabs. She looked at him, surprised by his quiet commitment. Leaf met her gaze, offering a shy smile. In that moment, their dynamic shifted. He was no longer merely a name on a resume. He had earned his place in her world through humility, service, and genuine admiration. One afternoon, Imani invited him to contribute during a brainstorming session, valuing his perspective and fresh ideas. Their collaboration blossomed, bridging past wounds and forging a creative partnership built on respect, humility, and mutual growth. Imani woke at dawn in her apartment overlooking the city skyline, her mind racing with plans for the Footnote Fellowship's first international outreach. By mid-morning, she boarded a flight bound for Lagos, Nigeria, where the fellowship had partnered with local theater organizations to nurture emerging African playwrights. She carried a suitcase filled with journals, pens, and the fellowship's mission statement printed on elegant stationery. Arriving at the cultural center, Imani was greeted by eager young writers clutching weathered manuscripts and hopeful expressions. She spent the afternoon hosting workshops on character development, story structure, and overcoming creative blocks. Under her guidance, participants dissected their personal narratives, discovering how to transform pain into purpose. Her words resonated deeply. They saw a version of themselves in her journey. In the evenings, she joined panel discussions with prominent African directors and producers. They debated the future of theater on the continent and explored integrating traditional storytelling with modern production techniques. Imani contributed insights drawn from her own experiences, balancing authenticity with commercial appeal. Each conversation strengthened her conviction that art could unite diverse voices and foster cultural exchange. By the end of the week, the fellowship recipients prepared a public reading, showcasing new works. The theater was packed with community members, journalists, and local dignitaries. As the lights dimmed, young playwrights took the stage, delivering scenes that grappled with identity, heritage, and resilience. Imani watched from the sidelines, pride swelling. After the final applause, she addressed the audience, announcing expanded funding, upcoming residencies, and a plan to launch virtual mentorship programs. The fellowship had grown from a single idea into a movement spanning continents, an enduring testament to creativity, solidarity, and the power of believing in one another. She returned to her hotel inspired, eager to nurture these voices in future. The morning headlines arrived like a cold breeze. Critics questioned Imani's rapid expansion, accusing her of overextension and self-promotion. Opinion pieces argued that the fellowship's resources were diverted toward high-profile launches, rather than grassroots support. Imani read each article with quiet resolve, viewing scrutiny as a catalyst for improvement rather than defeat. Later that afternoon, she convened a press conference in the fellowship's headquarters. Reporters hovered, recorders at the ready. Imani stepped forward, voice steady. Constructive criticism fuels growth. Our mission to amplify silenced voices remains paramount. We welcome feedback and will refine our approach to best serve communities. Her honesty and clarity diffused tension, earning cautious applause. In the evening, she joined a roundtable with theater scholars, local artists, and cultural advisors. They probed her leadership strategies, questioning program sustainability and regional autonomy. Imani listened intently, taking detailed notes. She outlined plans to establish advisory councils in each country, staffed by respected cultural figures, ensuring community-led decision-making and accountability. Back at her desk, Imani reflected on her own journey. She recalled nights spent rewriting scripts after harsh rejections. Now she drafted internal policies, reinforcing transparency, regular impact evaluations, and a rotating board of fellowship alumni to maintain cultural integrity. She emailed her team, "Let's integrate these measures and hold ourselves to the highest standards." By nightfall, thought pieces shifted tone. Balanced reviews acknowledged her responsiveness and applauded the fellowship's tangible impact. Imani exhaled, recognizing that leading a movement demands humility, resilience, and openness to change. As darkness settled, she prepared a new announcement: upcoming scholarship criteria and the first annual Fellows Summit to foster collaboration, creativity, and ethical stewardship across borders. She set the announcement to publish at dawn, confident that continuous dialogue and accountability would guide the fellowship into a brighter future. Months after her debut humiliation on that rooftop, Imani returned to the original venue for a special reading. The rooftop garden had been transformed into a performance space. String lights hung among planters, chairs arranged in a semicircle. Leaf and fellow fellowship alumni arrived early, mingling with guests under the dusk sky. Imani stepped to the center, heart steady. She looked at the familiar skyline, recalling how that night she felt silenced. Now she held a microphone, her voice carrying confidence. The reading featured new scenes by fellowship participants, including reflections on painting personal beginnings and endings. Each playwright stepped forward, voice unwavering as they declared agency over their narratives. When the final script concluded, a story of healing and self-discovery, the rooftop burst into applause. Imani closed her eyes, absorbing the cheers. She introduced Leaf to the crowd, acknowledging his supportive presence and celebrating their shared journey. They celebrated each milestone with gratitude. As the evening progressed, Imani engaged in conversation circles under the twinkling lights. She listened warmly, offered guidance, and invited feedback. Old doubts dissolved in laughter and honest dialogue. She realized that the place where once she experienced crushing embarrassment now radiated collective empowerment. At midnight, as lawn chairs were stacked, Imani thanked every attendee. She raised a glass of sparkling water to toast the moment. To every dreamer who believes in the power of words, may we always find strength in our stories. Fireworks lit the sky, bursting overhead as if the city itself celebrated. Walking away from the venue, Imani paused at the rooftop ledge, touching the railing that once held her fear. She whispered into the night breeze, "Every chapter, every line has led me here." With a contented smile, she descended the stairs, ready for whatever pages lay ahead. Years into her career, Imani gazed at a crowded cinema screening a documentary about her journey. She sat in the front row alongside Dahlia, Leaf, and fellowship alumni. The screen displayed scenes from her earliest struggles to her global impact. The audience watched, rapt, as her story unfolded. As credits rolled, applause filled the hall. Imani rose, stepping onto the stage to address the viewers. "Thank you for believing," she said, voice strong. "Every humiliation, every triumph, let us hear." She signaled to a group of fellowship graduates seated behind her. They stood and applauded, their pride evident. Moments later, she spotted the original rooftop venue on her phone's news feed, a retrospective feature on creative spaces. She smiled, remembering how that rooftop defined her turning point. Her phone buzzed, notification that her initiative would be featured in a major arts history exhibit. Backstage, Leaf approached, handing her a framed excerpt from her original script. "A reminder," he said softly. She embraced him, grateful for shared growth. Later, at a quiet after-party, Imani mingled with fellow creatives, each offering toasts to future collaborations. She raised her glass, turning to the group. "To the footnotes and the headlines," she declared. "May every voice be heard." As dawn approached, she walked alone to the theater balcony, city lights shimmering. She whispered into the night, "Be careful who you belittle. They might own your future." A breeze carried her words over the skyline. Her journey began with a broken dream and ended in communal uplift. With pen in hand, she embraced unwritten chapters, determined to guide others beyond their footnotes and collective growth. I hope you enjoyed this story. Please like, comment, and share. Also turn on the bell to get more of our videos. See you in the next story.